Max Verstappen is fighting a war on two fronts. The championship leaders pull away while his own machinery betrays him at 300 kilometers per hour. Two races and two identical failures have shaken the team. At Silverstone, the rear wing refused to close. No contact, no error. Just a violent loss of downforce that turned a podium lock into a gravel trap spin. Max did not call it unlucky. He called it life-threatening. When a four-time world champion blames the engineering, the dynamic shifts. The FIA is now watching, and next week the circus moves to Spa-Francorchamps. It is the fastest track on the calendar. The question is not if Red Bull can fix it. The real question is whether they will dare to race it. To understand why this flaw is so dangerous, we must look at exactly what happened when the system failed. The setup looked perfect for a routine finish. Max sat in third with stable tires. Then the car stopped responding in a high-speed right-hander. The rear wing failed to return to high downforce mode. The physics were brutal. The back end lost all stability, and Max became a passenger. The spin brought out a safety car and erased any chance of a strong result. Charles Leclerc took the win for Ferrari, while Mercedes completed the podium. The most critical detail was the lack of external damage. The wing did not break off. It simply refused to do its job. This was an internal command failure that left the car vulnerable at full speed. A broken wing is predictable. A wing that stays open creates an aerodynamic stall that catches the driver off guard. Max realized this instantly. His radio messages revealed a driver concerned about survival, not just points. The story began one weekend earlier in Austria. During qualifying, Max lost rear grip suddenly and spun. There was no obvious reason for the loss of control. His engineer suspected a delay in the rear wing system. The team treated it as an isolated incident. That decision would come back to haunt them. Laurent Mekies later admitted the team took full responsibility. He apologized directly to Max for the lack of reliability. Apologies are reserved for errors, not bad luck. When a team principal admits fault, it signals a serious internal problem. The pattern was clear. 2 weekends, 2 different symptoms, 1 common result. The rear end of the RB22 was unpredictable. In Austria, it was a grip loss in qualifying. At Silverstone, it was a wing failure in the race. Both incidents pointed to the same root cause. Red Bull made a specific design choice this season. They introduced an active rear wing that changes shape during the lap. Ferrari uses 2 separate motors for redundancy. If one fails, the other keeps it safe. Red Bull chose a single central actuator to save weight. It is a high-risk gamble that prioritizes performance over safety margins. The failure point is specific and dangerous. High air pressure pushes against the wing flap, and the single motor cannot overcome the load. The regulation states that any failure must default to the safe high downforce position, but Red Bull's system failed to the unsafe low drag position. Technical analyst Paolo Filicetti pointed out this critical flaw. The car was left with no rear grip exactly when it needed it most. Red Bull now faces a difficult dilemma. They can keep the current design and hope it holds, or they can redesign the mechanism and lose valuable straight-line speed. The tension inside Red Bull did not stay hidden. After Silverstone, a serious meeting took place in hospitality. Jos Verstappen and his manager Raymond Vermeulen sat across from team principal Oliver Minslav. This was an intervention driven by concern for driver safety. Jos has always been protective of his son's career. Seeing Max survive 2 near misses crossed a line. The family camp demanded answers that went beyond standard engineering explanations. Oliver Minslav later admitted publicly that Max was right to be angry. This is a rare moment where a team principal sides with the driver against the strategy team. It shows how deep the rift had become. Trust is hard to build and easy to break. When a driver feels unsupported, he drives differently. He protects himself rather than pushing the car to the limit. For Red Bull, this is a nightmare scenario. They need Max to extract every bit of performance, but if he does not trust the rear end, he will hold back. The issue has grown beyond a private team matter. The FIA is now in direct contact with both Red Bull and Ferrari. They are requesting detailed data on how these active wing systems work. This is not a random check. The governing body acts when they see a potential safety loophole. They want to know if the fail-safe mechanisms are truly reliable under extreme load. While no official ban has been announced, the request for information is a clear warning sign. Ferrari is part of this inquiry because their system works differently. Their dual-motor design provides natural redundancy. By comparing the two approaches, the FIA can determine if one design is inherently safer. If they find that Red Bull's setup violates safety regulations, they could issue a technical directive. This would force the team to make changes immediately. A mid-season redesign is a logistical nightmare. But the alternative is racing with a known risk. The calendar now points to the most dangerous test of all. Next week, the teams arrive at Spa-Francorchamps. The famous Eau Rouge complex compresses the car into the ground before launching it up a blind hill. Speeds here exceed 300 kilometers per hour. If the rear wing fails in this section, the consequence is not a simple spin. It is a high-speed launch into the barriers. This is exactly the scenario the safety regulations were designed to prevent. But the wing is not the only problem. Spa places a huge demand on the energy recovery system. Red Bull has admitted their power unit struggles to deploy electrical power effectively on tracks with long full-throttle sections. Max noted that his favorite track will feel very different this year. He expects a struggle for pace, even if the car remains reliable. Imagine combining a power deficit with a potential aerodynamic failure. The margin for error has vanished completely. The championship standings tell a harsh truth. Max sits in 7th place, trailing leader Kimi Antonelli by 103 points. The title fight is effectively over. Now the battle is for pride and for the Constructors' Championship, where the team holds 4th place. Every point matters in this struggle for respect. Another mechanical failure would be devastating for the entire organization. It would confirm that their engineering choices were flawed at a fundamental level. This situation forces a reckoning within the team hierarchy. They must decide if speed is worth the risk of a catastrophic accident. The data from Austria and Silverstone shows a clear pattern of instability. Ignoring it again at Spa would be negligent. The FIA is watching, and the drivers are worried. Red Bull must choose between short-term performance and long-term integrity. 2 times Max relied on luck to walk away from a high-speed spin. At Spa, luck is not a strategy. It is a gamble with terrible odds.